Hello again everyone, Rio Grande fan back here again. If you had just watched my previous video on how to install the LokProgrammer software and open up a sound file, this is the follow-up for how to actually make a change and then get it written to the decoder. You'll see here I opened up file number 768. You can do this with any file, doesn't matter what file. If you want to make a change, you can do that pretty easily. And you don't even have to have the LokProgrammer, although I do highly recommend having one because it does make things a little bit easier. So let's say that you're working with your lights. Maybe you don't want your headlight to be on only in forward. Maybe it's more prototypical for you to have your front headlight be on in both directions and the engineer actually has to turn it off. Well, to do that, it's pretty simple. You'll see in here that we have conditions. These things have to be met in this row before anything following in the same row can occur. So think of these as requirements. So the requirement is the throttle has to be set for forward and function 0 has to be turned on in order for the front light to illuminate. Well, we don't want to just limit that maybe, so we're going to come in here, we're going to click it, we're going to drop this down. Maybe we're going to get rid of this. We're going to say ignore the direction. You'll see that forward requirement then goes away. So now the only requirement is that function 0 is on for the front light. You'll also see that the reverse function 0 turns on the rear light. Well, maybe we don't want that requirement either. The problem though is if now we get rid of the reverse, F0 is going to turn on both lights. So you probably don't want to do that unless you maybe have a specific reason to. If you wanted to add more conditions, you could do that as well, but we're just going to leave it at that for now. Now you can come down here and you can see that function 1 activates a bell. It's the first generation bell template. What this means is that you can choose what bell you want to play. Horns are the same way. And there's a whole bunch of other things down here we can see. We just made one easy little change here. And that's the scope of this video, is just to make one little change just to show you what's going to happen. So now you've done this, how do I know what CVs to set in my decoder? There's a cool feature called Show Changed CVs up here in the Tools menu. It's the fourth option, Show Changed CVs. We can click that and this window pops up and it gives us a list of all the CVs that we need to change in our decoder to actually execute this. You can then take your throttle, your DCC throttle, and program these CVs. Now CV31 pretty much always stays at 16, but it doesn't hurt to go ahead and program it anyway. These first two are index CVs. They have to be done first. Anything you see above the dotted line, dashed line, you have to do first. This I like to think of as like the elevator in a building. We have to put the elevator on the correct floor because CV257 repeats in these new decoders about 12 times, so you want to make sure you're on the right floor. In this case we need to be on floor 3. We're going to go to room 257 and we're going to write 16 on a whiteboard. Hopefully that analogy kind of makes sense. So you want to do these in order. Put your elevator on floor 3 and then write 257 to 16. What will then happen is the forward requirement goes away on the front headlight. Pretty simple. If we were to do another change somewhere down the line, you'll get another set of CVs. Now that CV257 is static to this cell, no matter what's in this cell. You could change this cell completely if you wanted to be something else. Maybe you want function 5 to turn your headlight on. I don't know why you would, but it doesn't matter. We can set that up. Maybe get rid of function 0, make it function 5. we should still see in the window here 257 is affected. Now another CV was affected, CV 258. We'd have to set that as well. And that's because we're talking to function 5. It's still down the line in the function mapping table. Those are a little bit harder to understand, but and outside the scope of this video. But I'm going to put this back. If we leave this off, you'll see the dashed line in here. This basically means there's no condition, and the front light will just turn on with track power. You might actually want that in some cases for certain lights, like step lights or walkway lights. You might not want a function to actually turn the light on. You can just let it be on with track power. If you put everything back to the way it was by default, the window should go blank and you won't have anything here. But how do we know what the default CV was? Well, it's pretty cool. What you can actually do is down here in the manual CV input window, we can look at it. We can go, we had CV31 was 16, so we scroll down until we see 16s appear. In the 32 column, we had a 3. There's the 3s. And the first one was, it was 257, so we have 16, 3, 257, and the value is 20 by default. And we changed it to 16 by just getting rid of the forward component. So that's kind of a neat way to see how what all the CVs are set to, and you can see that the indexing 32 goes all the way up to, well, actually goes to 13. So there's 14 floors in our building. You have to make sure you're on the right floors. You can see these CV numbers repeat over and over again in the decoder. And if you're on the wrong floor and you program a CV, strange things could happen with your sounds or your lights. So you want to make sure that you're always on the right floor. 16.0, 16.1, 2, 3, whatever floor you need to be on. You got to make sure you're on the correct one. Anything with a CV31 value of 0 or 1, you don't necessarily need an index for. Yeah, these CVs you don't really need an index for. Most of these you'll never change anyway. Everything is going to be low in the 100s or the 2-digit numbers. Alright, so that's the scope of this video. I just wanted to show that. If you do have a LokProgrammer, what you can do is just simply hit this icon right here. After you've written the sound file to the decoder, you can just write the data and it'll write it in about, I think the new version actually writes a little quicker, so it might be about 5 or 6 seconds. It'll write the decoder. It'll write this change, assuming that you've already written the sound file. If you haven't written the sound file yet, you would actually click on the sound data button, well, music note here, and that will write the sound data. Now that takes about 30 minutes or so, and that will write all of the sounds to the decoder. So that's it. I just wanted to show you Changed CVs. Now one other caveat I guess there's to point out. If you save the file or you write the sound file or the data, if you write anything or save it, this goes away and you no longer get to see it. So make sure that you make a note of it before you save it or write it to a decoder. Other than that, it works pretty good. Alright, and with that, I'm going to end this video and we'll see you on the next one. Rio Grande fan out.